How you doing, guys? It's Pete from Loaded Mag NUFC. Give me a little bit of a preview from a Newcastle perspective in the build-up to the game. We're on YouTube. Loaded Mag NUFC is our YouTube channel. So if you fancy having a little watch of our Newcastle reaction to the game on Saturday, then feel free to come over and give us a subscribe. Come and join us in the live chat. It'd be great to hear from you all. But the big game on Saturday for us, and it's an absolute massive one. As you'll probably be aware, our form recently hasn't been great, particularly after the international break. And we had to hit back, and we did on Saturday with a massive win against Leicester City. We haven't really been great for the past year against teams that really kind of come in and have a bit of a low block and sit in and make it really difficult for us. We really find it difficult to break teams down, but we didn't necessarily get that from Leicester. Leicester, under their new manager, were a little bit more confident. They came out, they tried to press a little bit more of a mid-block than anything else, and we really did put them to the sword, and it probably should have been 5 or 6, maybe more. I think 4-0 does flatter them a little bit. And that was just because of the amount of really good clear-cut chances that we created, which has not been our game this season. Last season, we were one of the top goal scorers of the league. This season, we haven't looked anything like it, but we did on Saturday, and that gives us a little bit of confidence. But, of course, we've got the big quarterfinals midweek. And then we go to you boys, and, you know, travelling away from home has not been something that we've been very good at recently, and teams tend to get the better of us, but we do know that you haven't yet won at home, and it's one of those things that you want to chalk off, and we're hoping that that's going to be something that you're still yet to chalk off after that game on Saturday. But no doubt for us, it's going to be a difficult game for us. We're yet to find our feet and really get going in this season. We're lucky to still be in touching distance with the top teams in sort of like anywhere 4th downwards. We're only literally a few points away, so we're still right in the mix there. Despite being a very indifferent season, I think we're just lucky that every team seems to be in that position this year. But look, the last game, it fills me with confidence. It fills me with hope. Isak back looking really, really good. Not just his goal, but his overall play was really dominant. So was Anthony Gordon, arguably his best performance of the season. And then Sandro Tonali coming in and playing as a 6 is what we wanted. They're the keys, because they're the players that we're standing up and waiting for to give us those consistent performances, but they certainly did that at the weekend. So I'm hoping that we can continue to kick on and do that again. Now, thoughts on Ipswich. Now, I have to say, I have been really impressed at times with you this season. I think you've been really unlucky to not have more points on the board. I think you're more than capable of staying up this season. And I think what your manager's done this season is created a real sort of like attacking intent with some players that are very, very dangerous. Amari Hutchinson is one that I've kept an eye on, a really, really talented, quick, nippy player that's capable of a special moment, as he produced against Man United. And Liam Delap, we're looking at a Callum Wilson replacement. And for me, I said it earlier on in the season, having watched him play against Aston Villa and others, to be fair, and thought, you know what, he really looks like a promising young talent. Now, that's not me trying to buy off your players, but I think that just shows how much people think of him. He's a talent, and he's capable, and what he's doing as a young lad, he's proving his worth to the Premier League, and so you've really brought well this season. And you look a really good unit as a team. Your manager's got you well drilled, set up, organised. Maybe just a lack of experience that's kind of letting you down in crucial moments. But that sometimes is the case when you've got a number of young players in the team. But do I think you've got enough to stay up this season? Absolutely. Some of the teams that you wouldn't never have expected to be down there, the likes of Wolves, Crystal Palace, Everton, you kind of do because they've been in that moment for a few years now. But some of the other teams have really been poor. And as I say, you really are lucky not to be further ahead of them points wise. But I think there's time. I think there's moments in this season where you're going to pick up some points, but hopefully not Saturday. Now, of course, there's always a connection with Newcastle United and Ipswich. Player wise, you've got the likes of Kieran Dyer, Titus Bramwell from back in the day when I was a young sort of teenager watching these boys being signed from Ipswich to Newcastle and performing well in the league, in the Champions League, in Europe in general. So there's always been that connection. But of course, the great man, Sir Bobby Robson, has his natural connection. And, being a young teenager, listening to Sir Bobby Robson talk, he would always have a positive word for Ipswich in every interview that he could get us both in within that conversation. And that's always good. I always like to have and speak to clubs that have got a similar connection to us, whether it's a player, whether it's, a moment in some way, shape or form. It's really, really important. So, I think there'll be hopefully some form of acknowledgement, a hat tip, shall we say, to the great man. And of course, whenever we come together, I think it's more than well deserved for what he's done for both clubs. How do I think we'll line up? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very much a case of looking at how we fall out from the Brentford game. Ultimately, I think we'll look to go full strength. I think we'll look to play our strongest team. What we won't have is Joe Linton for what he's done for both clubs. How do I think we'll line up? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very much a case of looking at how we fall out from the Brentford game. Ultimately, I think we'll look to go full strength. I think we'll look to play our strongest team. What we won't have is Joe Linton. He's got his 5th booking, so he'll be suspended for the game. Obviously, of course, Nick Pope is out for a month. Callum Wilson out for 2, so they'll be missing the game. So they're 3 big first-team players that we would normally sort of lean on in the game. But Dubravka come in and applied himself well. We've got obviously Alexander Isak, and we've got deputies in the likes of Joe Willock, Sean Longstaff, Louis Miley, young up-and-coming talent. So we've got players that will come in, and I think it'll probably be Willock. So if you're asking me my team for the game, I'm probably going to go Dubravka in goal. I'm going to go Livramento and Hall as our fullbacks, Byrne and Shaw as our centre-backs. Then I'm gonna go for a midfield of Sandro in the 6, Bruno on the right, and Willock on the left. And then the front 3 will be the same as what destroyed Leicester City. Is it Isak right bang down through the middle, Gordon on the left, and our 2-goal hero Jacob Murphy on the right, who you wouldn't expect to be starting. We do need a right winger, but when he does come in on occasion, he has these purple patches where he does look unplayable, and I hope that continues on again on Saturday. Start of play, high press. We will be high press. We like to high press teams. We haven't done it as much this season, but when we do, we like to cause problems and really push up and make it difficult. We need the first goal. We can react well at times to going a goal down, but I think if we get the first goal, we can be very difficult to break because we can switch between a possession or a pressing style game depending on what's needed. But I always say we need the first goal. We get the first goal, it gives us a great chance of at least getting something out of the game. So that's kind of how we play. It'd be interesting to see how you guys set up really in your minute-to-minute approach, where you come and press high and look to get at us. You have done against the likes of Man United, a few other teams, will you do the same? Because that could fall into our hands as well, because we have players that can break the lines. But ultimately, we need to keep this positive train going. We need the win. A win on Saturday could really propel us up the league. We could go up as many as 6 places, which is crazy to think. But you know, that's the reality of the Premier League at the moment. And, you know, our objective is minimum European football, and we have to start winning back-to-back games in order to do that. So I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be a bit of a scrappy game. I think it's going to be tight, but I'm going to, of course, I'm going to back my boys. 2-1 victory. But look, absolute pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts with you on your channel. Make sure you're subscribing to these boys, to Rich and the team, and of course do consider coming and to Loaded Mag NUFC and subscribing to us as well. But thanks for your time. Best of luck for the rest of the season after Saturday. How are the lads?